it's all about. For those of you who've never heard of Women for Africa before, but you've maybe come onto this webinar because of your favorite speaker is, or somebody that you admire or look up to is a panelist. So let's find out a little bit about Women for Africa and where we all started. And the best people to actually tell us about it are the founders, and we have them on the platform now. We have Sam and Tola Onigbanjo. Hi, good evening and welcome.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
How are you guys doing?
Very well, thanks.
Can I just say, for everybody else, I'm sure I'm not the only one, if you're in the UK, you probably have one of these, which is the fan, because it's been extremely hot here. So yes, so you've got yours. So yes, for everyone, every now and again, how have you guys been keeping cool today in particular? What have you guys been doing?
Okay. And the garden doors open.
And the garden doors open. Excellent. And then the trusty fan. Okay, so Women for Africa, we have this virtual summit. Thank you very much for putting it together. Can I ask, first of all, what Women for Africa is about, and then tell us why you decided to put on this virtual summit?
Want to answer?
Over to you, Sam.
Okay, I'll answer. Well, you know, the truth is that Africa is home, and for everyone that is watching us and that is listening, they'll quickly realize that leadership of any group comes from within. So we know that Africa was never divided into 54 countries by any African. So the division and the separation is very, very artificial. In fact, it's external to Africa. So as sons of Africa, it's our remit and responsibility to lead and bring about unity amongst our people, hence the whole term around Pan-Africanism. And for that to really happen, you have to carry the people along. And if you're going to carry your people, you have to carry the women. If you don't carry the women, you've not got a community. Hence, we've got the vision, Women for Africa.
And Tola, would you like to add anything to that as to why, in particular, why did we have the summit today? Why did you feel it was necessary?
Well, I think for us, because obviously with the whole COVID, we haven't been able to do any awards or anything else. And I think for us, it's important to obviously keep, all of our followers and those that are loyal to Women for Africa, keep them going with something. And I thought a virtual online conference definitely is the way to go. And we just knew the speakers that we actually wanted for this conference because there's a lot going on. And I feel that we need to be able to encourage and empower, our women as well in the midst of everything going on.
Okay, sorry, I think we lost you a little bit there. I think the audio went down a bit, but we can hear you now, so that's fine. Or it might have actually been on my end, but we can hear you now. But thank you for that. Okay, so one of the things I think we will come back to you a bit later on. Like I said, we've got a packed 1.5 hours, so we need to make sure that we maximize that. So we might call you both back on just at the end, so you can just give us a roundup and maybe tell us what we can expect going forward for Women for Africa as well. But thank you very much. I'll start off by saying thank you for putting this together. We're looking forward to having a great webinar, and we'll speak to you later. Thank you.
All right, and just before we go, I just want to give a big thank you to everyone that's come, all the people that are attending from around the world, all the participants. We can see the list growing. We really appreciate it. And our 4 panelists and our compare Ayo, amazing. So we're really, really, really appreciative that Ayo, that you're always here to compare and make sure things go right. For the 4 ladies that are going to speak, number 1, my sister from South Africa, Pumela, we love you to bits. We really, really, really are grateful that for everything you do and what Brand South Africa does as you lead as an example for what Pan-Africanism is. Your selfless leadership is celebrated. Really love you for that. Our second speaker, my sister Chale, she knows herself. She knows herself. Denta Amo MBE. Super proud of her. President of GUBA. Thank you. Thank you for all the nominations, for all the support. We really, really, really celebrate and love you for that, Denta. And for the person I call my big sister in Nigeria there, Adiola, Choco Aziz.
I haven't met her, but I'm definitely coming to WinBiz.
Yeah, she's one of the power women in Nigeria. And I remember when we brought the vision in and people were still asking us silly questions about Women for Africa, she opened up her doors. She said, no, this is what we want. And she threw all of her weight and WinBiz weight behind Women for Africa. We'll never, ever forget you. So thank you so much for for supporting us. And last but not the least, Mimi. Nimi is an unusual one. She sounds English, but she's Nigerian. She's a stateless Nigerian. She's an ambassador now for the whole country. She's the CEO of Best Man Game. She put Africa on the map on Monopoly. Super, super proud of her. And when I go to Lagos, we just jump on her yacht and we go round on the river behind there. So really, thank you so much. I just want to let you all know that you're loved. Thank you, people. We really, really appreciate your time and effort here. So we're going to come off now, and I'm going to stop talking because Tola's tapping my leg. But I love all our speakers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam and Tola. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to get into it. So as I said, please continue to share your comments and connect with people in the chat room. Just let us know where you are coming from. Let me just have a quick look. So we've got people from Essex and London, Southeast London. We've got from Nigeria and Hertfordshire. So yeah, just keep on putting details of where you are zooming in from, and that will be great, and we can actually connect with you a bit later on as well. If you have any questions for the panelists, please put them in the Q&A section. That will be great. Please also remember, or be reminded, that we are also streaming live to Facebook, and we are streaming live to YouTube. So that means that even if you want to watch this back, you can also do that by going onto the Women for Africa Facebook page or the Women for Africa YouTube channel to watch this back as well. So enough talking from me as well. Let's get into it. So this theme of this summit is Still I Rise. Still I Rise, that fabulous poem from Maya Angelou. But let me call on our first speaker. First panelist is Pumela Salela. I'm hoping that I pronounced that correctly. I'm sure she'll let me know if I haven't afterwards. Pumela is the UK country head for Brand South Africa, which is the custodian of the South Africa country brand. Her role includes, but is not limited to, marketing South Africa in the UK and attracting foreign direct investment into South Africa. Her topic for this evening is Women at the Forefront of Social.
Women at the forefront of social change. I think there's been a freeze there. That's the internet, but we're going to bring you on, Pumela. Let's try and change that and pin you on. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I've themed my topic, Women at the Forefront of Social Justice. Thank you. I would like to start by thanking the founders of Women for Africa, which is Sam and Tola Onibanjo, for the opportunity for us as Brand South Africa to participate in this webinar. I would like to greet all the women who have joined and the progressive men who are here today, supporting the cause of women when we say, still we rise. Today's meeting is significant for our country, South Africa, because on the 9th of August, which is this coming Sunday, it is the official Women's Day in South Africa. And the whole month of August is actually Women's Month in South Africa. And so what makes this day special is that it's actually specially aligned with the theme of today, which is Still We Rise, in the sense that on the 9th of August, 1956, more than 20,000 South African women of all races, and when I say all races, they united, even at the time when women across the races were not united, they were separated by the apartheid laws, but women across all races saw it fit that they should stage a march to the union buildings in Pretoria to protest against the proposed amendments to the Urban Areas Act of 1950, which was commonly known as the PASS laws. And so these 20,000 brave women who marched to the union buildings in Pretoria were protesting against the PASS laws being extended to Black women. And the crowd marched to Pretoria to deliver to the then Prime Minister, J.G. Stradom, a petition which was protesting their freedom being restricted by the PASSs. And this was organized by the Federation of South African Women, which is called FEDSO. And this march was led by Helen Joseph, Rahima Musa, Sophie Williams, and Lillian Goyi. And they were all incredible women of all races and from all walks of life in this march. I want to emphasize the all races part because women are able to unite when it comes to social justice. I think this is partly because as child bearers, we know the pain of bringing a child to life and the need to nurture that life when it is brought into the world. This is why today I call upon all women to be at the forefront of social justice. So the theme for this year's Women's Day in South Africa is Generation Equality, realizing women's rights for an equal future. And the hashtag that is going by is I am Generation Equality. It is an opportunity for the nation to come together to achieve gender equality in our lifetime. But regardless of which country that you come from, what I want to encourage you is that as the women in this summit and the progressive men, I call all women that support men's causes progressive men. So what is important is that regardless of which country we come from, that we can align ourselves with this theme of South Africa's Women's Day for this year, which is Generation Equality, realizing women's rights. And so we need to work together to ensure that we achieve gender equality in our lifetime. Still, we rise. As global women, we are currently faced with two pandemics. One is racism and the other is COVID-19. This calls for us to be more united than ever in addressing these issues. In the last 4 months, the whole world has been on lockdown, and these issues have emerged, and we became woke. This is what young people are calling it. They're saying that we are woke. And so we witnessed during this lockdown that the death of George Floyd led us to the streets. I was one of the marchers, led to the streets, and we were marching and we were chanting, no justice, no peace, no racist police. We protested against what we saw when we watched, painfully so, life being drawn out of George Floyd as he uttered the words, I can't breathe. And prior to that, we were awakened by the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement, with variations of related local and international names, is a movement against sexual harassment and sexual abuse where people publicize allegations of sex crimes committed by powerful and or prominent men. And similar to other social justice empowerment movements, it's based upon breaking the silence. And its purpose is to empower women through empathy and solidarity, through strength in numbers, especially young and vulnerable women, by visibly going against and standing against sexual assault and harassment, especially in the workplace. Prior to the lockdown, I also watched a film called Bombshell, and it brought the issues that are being addressed in the Me Too movement to life. In the same period, again, prior to the lockdown, I watched a film, Queen and Slim, and this focuses its lens on racism. In South Africa, the struggle for the education of the underprivileged child started as a movement under the theme "Fees Must Fall." It was started and it was led by two young women, an SRC leader of the University of Witwatersrand of 2015, Shahira Kala, and the incoming SRC president of 2015, Nompendulo Mkhatshwa. The Fees Must Fall was a student-led protest movement that began in mid-October 2015 in South Africa. And the goals of the movement were to stop increases in student fees and also to ensure that government increases the support of its funding universities. Nompendulo Mkhatshwa was born in 1994, and that is the same year that South Africa gained its own democracy. And Nompendulo is now one of the youngest serving members of parliament in South Africa at the age of 26. This shows that you are never too old or too young to be the change that you want to see. In the current circumstances that we face, we need to ask ourselves, what would the trailblazers who have come before us have done in this situation? When I say this situation, I'm talking about the injustices that we face, the social injustices that we face, the pandemics that we face in these current times. So we should ask ourselves, what is it that they would have done under these circumstances? And so today provides us an opportunity for us to pay tribute to the generations of women that have gone before us, who have laid the foundation of the progress made in empowering women and achieving gender equality to date. The struggles waged by our forebearers have resulted in important strides that we have today. And allow me to mention some of the women who have paved the way for us, starting with Maya Angelou, whom today's summit is based on. The poem that she wrote, Still I Rise, I regard her as a trailblazer. And starting even from the Queen of, going back to as far as the Queen of Sheba in Africa, Angolan Queen Zinga, American Harriet Tubman, American Toni Morrison, Zimbabwean Mbuya Nehanda, South Africa's Mama Winnie Mandela, the first woman president in Africa, Johnson Sirleaf, the first woman head of the African Union, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, the current executive director of UN Women, who's based at the United Nations in New York, a South African by the name of Dr. Phumzile Mlambo Ngcuka, and many, many more formidable women from all over the world and from different countries, which I have not mentioned here. So we take this opportunity to remember all those women who have struggled against all odds to bring us to this point. The many women who risked their lives fighting apartheid, fighting colonialism. The women who made sure that we secure a seat at the table during our constitutional regulations, despite the initial marginalization, and ensure that women's rights are now afforded significant constitutional protection. The women who continue to campaign tirelessly for women's reproductive rights and against gender-based violence. The women public interest lawyers who bring women's socio-economic rights cases to our courts. The women in grassroots social movements around the world who continue to claim their constitutional rights and insist that they are written into the story of our constitutional rights jurisprudence. The women in homes around the country, around the world, giving their love and labor on a daily basis to ensure that care work that is so crucial to our families and communities is undertaken. The women in townships, the women in ghettos, council houses, urban centers, rural areas around the world who work as domestic workers, who work as community health workers, who work as informal traders and farm workers, and many other precarious jobs, who sacrifice spending time with their loved ones, who sacrifice spending time with their own families in order to provide them with the basic necessities of life. We draw strength from them. We should be strengthened by their struggles and fortified by their memory and existence for the many struggles ahead. As Toni Morrison said, if there's a story that you would want to read, but it hasn't been written, then you must write it. The story of the realization of women's rights has yet to be fully written. Let us continue alongside many women activists currently and doing so and making sure that we write the stories. Still, we rise, should not leave men behind. We must continue to strengthen the men's movement so that men can play a meaningful role in contributing to the behavior change and breaking the stereotypes towards the goal of gender equality. We want to hear the voices of women in rural areas. We want to hear the voices of women in informal settlements. We want to hear the voices of young women and girls. We want to hear the voices of elderly women. We want to hear the voices of women with disabilities. We want to hear the voices of women workers. We want to hear the voices of the LGBTQIA community. We want to hear the voices of women in faith-based communities. We want to hear the voices of women traditional leaders. We want to hear the voices of women professionals across the sectors. Nelson Mandela once said, "No single person, no body of opinion, no political doctrine, no religious doctrine can claim monopoly on the truth." Let me repeat that. Nelson Mandela once said, "No single person, no body of opinion, no political doctrine, no religious doctrine can claim monopoly to the truth." Thus, we should all as a collective be a force of change makers of all ages and all genders in order to tackle the unfinished business of empowering women. We want to see every day organizations, formations, collectives, businesses, major companies, international development partners responding to gender inequality, responding to racism, responding to COVID-19, responding to all forms of social injustice through programs and projects, through interventions, through campaigns and mobilization. On the other hand, still we rise means that we as women also need to do a check on ourselves. How many times have we lifted other women as we rise? I am inspired by a sister here in the UK who's an African woman, Dorcas Gwata. Every time she gets invited to an event, if she cannot make it, she proposes a younger woman to be invited. And also, if she can make it, she makes sure that she attends an event with a younger woman and brings the younger woman along as a form of mentorship, as a form of letting young people gain exposure to the different aspects that the world is engaging on. So I'm sharing this to illustrate that you do not need to be involved in a major project or a major campaign to make a difference. You know, any small act of kindness in your own sphere of influence can go a long way in ensuring that you assist others, that is, lift others as you rise. Allow me to conclude by addressing the PhD syndrome. What is the PhD syndrome? The PhD syndrome is the pull head down syndrome that is done, sadly, by women on women. PhD syndrome, pull head down syndrome, done by women on women. It has actually led to women stifling each other's progress. It has led to women stifling each other's progress through sabotage and other means. We need to be aware that as women, we are sometimes our own worst enemies by not wishing each other well. I'm not sure what one gains by seeing another sister suffer. Okay, so that I don't end on a somber note, allow me to dedicate to you a song whose lyrics, you know, inspire me and pick me up when I'm going through a hard time, or when I'm facing, you know, a situation that is trying to actually, you know, demotivate me or demoralize me. So this is a song by Andra Day, and it's called Rise Up. It goes, "You're broken down and tired of living on a merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you. So we're gonna walk it out and move mountains. We're gonna walk it out and move mountains, and I'll rise up. I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up. I'll rise unafraid. I will rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up high like the waves. I'll rise up. I'll rise up in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you." When the silence isn't quiet and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet and move mountains. And I'll rise up. I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up. I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up. Thank you.
I think you're on mute.
Technology for you. Technology. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. I just on that note, I heard a phrase this week called picnic. So, picnic mean person in chair, not in computer, as an error message. So the error message being, or a situation where something is not working technically, but the issue is not really with the with the technology, it's with the person in the chair. So user error, basically. So thank you very much, Mela. What I was saying before was thank you very much. I've taken so many notes, and one of the things that is interesting for me is the lyrics of the song that you ended on, because I'll Rise Up, I've heard the song very many times. I usually just hear the chorus, but just hearing you actually speak the words and actually talk about what actually say the lyrics has brought it home as well. And it ties in nicely with what you were saying about, and that's something I hadn't heard before, which was the PhD syndrome. May we not be part of that, maybe not have PhD syndrome. And also something else that you mentioned, which is hearing everybody's voice, all women's voices, all types of women, and how important it is for us to do that. And the last thing that I picked up also was the term progressive men, and how important it is for us as women as well to actually support progressive men and strengthen their causes as well. So thank you so much, Mimela, for starting us off with this webinar. Thank you, and I'll ask you to also just stay around, because at the end of the webinar, we're hoping to have a panel session where people can ask questions. Please remember to put your questions in the Q&A section on Zoom. Continue to also let us know where you are watching from. We have quite a few people that have said where they're from. I know that we have people from Lusaka, we've got people from South Africa, from Ghana, from Nigeria, and all over the United Kingdom as well. Okay, so we're going to move on to our second panelist, and her name is Denta Amoteng. Mrs. Denta Amoteng is Mrs. Denta Amoteng MBE is the visionary and president of the Grow, Unite, Build Africa enterprise brand, which stands for GUBA. This is a social enterprise organization dedicated to the advancement of diaspora Africans and Africans back home through various social economic programs and initiatives. Her topic for this evening is balancing a career and managing family life. You're very welcome, Denta. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you so much. My goodness, I have to go after my big sister Pumela after such an amazing topic that she's just discussed. Again, I want to say a big thank you to Sam and Tola for allowing me to be on tonight's show. I've been going to Women4Africa and have been a great support of Women4Africa for a very long time. And, you know, I'm proud that they have, you know, set up the virtual online for us to be able to communicate. I hope that you can hear me because Ayo, you've frozen. So I don't know whether I'm frozen as well. Can somebody just let me know that I'm okay?
We can hear you.
Okay, fabulous. So yes, my topic is balancing a career and managing family life. As we know, as women, we wear a lot of hats. And so, you know, we're a mum, chauffeur, chef, coach, wife, sister, moderator, negotiator, a colleague, boss, and many, many other things. And so how do we balance our career and family life? For me, with, you know, having 4 children, and, you know, I got married at a very young age, at the age of 24, had my first child at 25. One of the things that, you know, I get asked all the time is, Denta, how do you manage, you know, your family life and your career? Because I do a lot. So with Gooba, as Ayo mentioned, Gooba Enterprise, what we do, again, we do an award ceremony just like Sam does. We celebrate, you know, Ghanaians and Africans that are doing well. And now, you know, it's gone from Ghana to you know, to Africa. And one of the things that I've been able to do to be able to have that balance is have a supportive family and have a supportive husband. We need our men to support our visions, our career, just like Sam and Tola. I think me and my husband are similar. So my journey started as acting. I was doing acting, singing, and all of that. And then my husband, you know, after I started doing well, my dad encouraged me to do my nursing. And then my husband said, you know, what, have you ever thought about doing TV presenting? And I was like, no, I haven't really. So started doing TV presenting, and guess what? He was at the time doing accounting, and he said, I'm going to stop doing accounting. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm going to be the camera guy that films you so that we manage our costs. And so when you get somebody that really supports your vision, it makes us women be able to fly and give more and do more. And also what I try to do is that, you know, after I had my first child, very difficult, trying to do Gooba. We sold our car to do the first Gooba Awards, which was very difficult. I remember one day going out to Tesco shopping and the rain just falling. I had about, 8 bags, trying to hold, you know, the child as well. And, you know, we have to realize that there will be a lot of sacrifices that we have to do to make our journey successful. But when we have supportive family and a supportive husband, you are able to do more. And it's incredible to see that, you know, there's been amazing women who have been at the top and have been able to balance. One of the other things that I make sure that I do is that I am there for each of the child on their special days. So I fly a lot, I travel a lot. But, you know, unfortunately, COVID, which is good and bad, I've been able to spend more time with my family. And when I'm not flying, I make sure that their birthdays, holidays, Christmas plays, that we are there for our children, because those are the times that they feel and want to see our presence. So just imagine a Christmas play, right? All the family members are there and mummy's not there. And so we must make sure that those times that we are not there for our, well, those particular days, we are there for our children, because it's so important that those particular days is those that they will remember the most. You know, their birthdays, they'll remember that. Christmas plays, they'll remember that. And so I've been able to balance that and getting the children to also know what mummy does. With my journey, I've been able to take my children to meetings unapologetically. I make sure that, you know, I remember when I was, just after 6 weeks of having a baby, I had to have a meeting, and I took my son with me to the meeting, and the person was like, "Oh my God, Denta, I didn't know you just had a baby." And I was like, "Yeah, I've had a baby, but you know, it's fine. He's there." And also even the older ones, just to kind of educate them on what mummy does is really, really important, so that they know what we do. It's not about blanking it out, you know, because there will be days that we won't make it for their special days. And so how are we communicating that to our children? And then I also want to talk about, you know, the fact that we as women, right, we talk about men not, you know, being at the top and not bringing the women to the forefront. Who are raising these men? It's us women. Who are giving birth to these men? It's us women. So how are we as mothers, as wives, educating our children, making sure our children know that, listen, when your mother, when a woman is part of your journey, or when a woman is at in your company, you can give them a position to be at. And I think that, you know, we always complain about men not bringing us to the table, men not doing this, but we are the ones raising the men. What are we doing about it? You know, and I think that's very, very, very crucial. And the other thing that I want to discuss is that we must have me times. It's so important that we give ourselves a break. That's something that we don't do very often. How often are we having family get-togethers? How often are we even just putting down the phone and having meaningful conversations with our children? In the UK, when you look at how what is happening with our Black boys, knife crime, all of these things that are happening, are we spending enough time with our children? Are we sitting down as a family, eating together and having a conversation, finding out about their lives? Even though we are busy, there are things that are going on in our children's life that we must be a part of. Communication is so key to balancing your life and balancing your children's life as well. I make sure that, you know, we have a family time each evening where we pray together, we read scriptures together, and we communicate with the children, because sometimes we get lost in the busyness. You will get lost because there's so many things happening and you can't manage it all. But please, as women, and as women that we are having children, we must make sure that we are part of our children's lives. We must make sure that we are communicating with them. And also that we also have our times out with our partners, and not forgetting that part as well. You know, how many times have you just gone away with your partner? A weekend break. Let's not get lost in that. Because as much as, you know, we are having our careers and we want to make sure things are done, mental health wise, we need time out. There's a lot of things that are happening in this world. I mean, even with this COVID-19, a lot of marriages have broken up because people haven't really spent time together with their partners. And this is the time that they've come together and they're both crushing each other because they have never been in the same space for this long. We must make sure that we are growing our relationship. We are talking, we are communicating. Let the right hand know what the left hand is doing. That's how we will be able to rise as women. That's how we'll be able to balance our family lives. And you know, when we have, so I've said about having a family time, I've said about having a couple time, spending time with your partners. You must also spend time with your family and friends. Sometimes when we are growing up in our careers and moving along, some people think that we have left them behind, that we no longer want to communicate with them, that we no longer want to be friends with them. But it's not the case. You know, it's not all about WhatsApp conversations. How many times are we calling our loved ones, our friends from the past? It's not everybody that, yes, will grow with you through your journey, but there are key ones who were part of your journey that still you need to keep up that conversation with them. So it's important to have conversations. not WhatsApp conversations, but phone call conversations, so that people don't feel left out and have grudges because they feel like they were part of your journey. Just keep that conversation going. And lastly, having me time, the women's time, a time alone, a time to reflect, a time to meditate, a time to pray by yourself. It's also vital. For me, that's how I balance. Sometimes just going away, locking yourself away from everything. Nowadays, I hear a lot of people even saying, you know, they're having a away time from social media. Sometimes it's needed. And how many times are we checking ourselves health-wise? We get so busy in our lives that we forget to even do checks. There's so many health issues that women are going through. But so many things can be cured early. But how are you treating yourself, treating your body? I've had so many friends who've had, you know, breast cancer, we've had this, we've had fibroids, we've had this. There's so many things we're going through. When are you taking that break to have your health check? This is all part of balancing your career and your life. It's essential. Also, have you done insurance for yourself and your family? These are all part of balancing your career and your family. Anything can happen. We've known COVID has shown us that anything can happen at any time. And so we must make sure as women that we have everything covered. I did a topic the other day about wills. Have you done your will? Will doesn't mean that you're coming to die. It is that you're putting things in place for your children. How many of us have done life insurance? We don't want to put burdens, you know, long gone are the days where, you know, we should be, I don't want my children to go and do a burial for me. I want it all paid for them so they don't have to face that. I don't know what their journey is going to be, whether they're going to be financially stable. We must prepare as women. This is how we rise. I'll end here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Denta. Thank you so much. Lots of stuff for us to dig our teeth into there. Some of the notes that I made about the things that you have said. And what I love about this webinar at the moment, and what we're doing, is that, you know, we're all different and we all have different experiences, but it's great to be able to learn from each other, because people are at different stages within their walks, which is what you made reference to. And the fact that, you know, we can learn from each other, whatever stage we're at in our life and in our walks, we can all learn from each other. And some of the things that you said is how important it is for us to actually make sure we communicate what we're doing to those who are around us, those that are impacted by our presence or even our absence, that we should make sure that we communicate in reference, in particularly we're making reference to children, and that it is very important to actually look after ourselves. And I know that sometimes as women, we put ourselves at the end of the list. We have to do this, and then maybe I'll look after myself. But then again, if we don't put ourselves sometimes at the top of the list and make sure we're looking after ourselves holistically, and then if we don't do that, then issues can arise. So it's so important for us to make sure that we are looking after ourselves. And also, an interesting point, which is true, is that a lot of us sometimes, well, people do complain about the men, but at the end of the day, who is raising the men? You know, who raises a man? The majority of the time, it's the mother. The mother gives birth to the child and raises the child, and so it's our responsibility as well to instill as much as we would like to see in our spouses, in our sons, because they will be somebody else's spouse. Time is ticking away, and thank you so much for continuing to add your comments to the chat. We've also seen your questions. Please continue to drop your questions in there. At the end of the webinar, towards the end, we will have a panel session where we'll be able to address each of the questions that you have raised. So we're going to move on now to our third speaker. Our third speaker is Adiola Aziz. She's the co-founder and trustee of Women in Management, Business and Public Service, WIMBIZ. I think a lot of us have heard of WIMBIZ. Her topic for this evening is reshaping our topic for this evening is reshaping our future, the female frontier redefined. Good evening, Adiola. I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Ayo, for that introduction. And it's a real pleasure to be here virtually with everyone this evening. I am particularly delighted because Sam, I owe him so much. He has invited me to this forum many times, and for some reason or the other, due to scheduling, I haven't been able to make it. So Sam, I'm here. I'm Tola, that this deal is now done and we are presenting. Okay, thank you again for inviting me this year to attend. So I'll just get right into it because there's so much to share. Although African women are rightfully positioning themselves as leaders, the truth is that in many instances, we are still trying to get a seat at the table. Let us ask ourselves, how many African women are on board chairmen, are CEOs, are presidents in comparison to our global counterparts? There should be more women in all facets of socio-economic endeavor. So really, are we rising? It depends on your analysis, on what you choose to focus on. We are indeed rising in some areas, but there's still a lot of work to make an impact. Resilience. Sam has said we should talk about resilience and how we, through resilience, have managed through COVID-19. So I'd like to define what resilience means to put it in proper context. As defined by the Cambridge English Dictionary, it's the capacity to be happy and successful after something bad has happened, and the ability of a substance to return to its usual shape after it's been bent, stretched, or pressed. The pandemic has indeed bent us all out of shape, forcing us to take a new or unexpected roles. How we respond to adversity determines our future. Resilience is thus a fundamental characteristic of great leaders, and for women to rise, we must be resilient. It has created what we now refer to as the new normal. I call it the next normal. Life as we knew it before has been disrupted, and this is the perfect time for women to ride on the wave through resilience to ensure positive outcomes for themselves and future generations. Resilience for me during this pandemic started off by making sure that I brought back my 16-year-old son in boarding school in the UK back to Nigeria in March, before Nigeria shut down its borders. I panicked like all mothers who wanted to bring their children back home. I visited every airline that could just get him back. I called on my vast network to ensure I succeeded. I remembered I had a friend in KLM, had built a good relationship with her for over 25 years. I had sown seeds. So when I told her about the situation, she moved immediately and bought the ticket and got him on the plane. She worked for KLM. Resilience often means anticipating what could go wrong, especially in a country like ours in Nigeria. You must, women, we must always have a plan B and a C, and sometimes a D. And we must be ready for the worst case scenario. Being resilient should be second nature to us to rise. Resilience and adaptability go hand in hand. When you're going through a tough time, change needs to happen. One needs to adapt to a new reality. Adaptability is a capacity to adjust and respond quickly in new ways to suit a new situation, be it changing trends, destabilization of industry shifts through new strategies and processes. How have we responded to COVID-19? As women, what have been our experiences? Have we risen above issues and problems brought on by the virus. How has it affected our homes, jobs, family lives, communities? Everything was disrupted. I'll be talking about resilience post-pandemic in 3 or 4 different contexts, basically trying to capture what we all are during this time. We have what we call women who are home engineers. We've got the entrepreneurs, and we also have the career women as well as women in politics. All these women, we all need to step out, own our voices, and play our part. The concept of a stay-at-home mom has been redefined because we have resilient women who have built thriving businesses right from the 4 walls of their home. The burden of care rests mainly on women who ensure that the home front runs effectively and efficiently. COVID-19 has disrupted the home because of homeschooling. Someone needs to stay at home to monitor and supervise our children. How do we find the balance to make sure children are doing their work? We are also doing our work, and dad is also home doing his work. If the home setup is not adapted, this can cause and result in chaos. You need resilience to handle that, to find an arrangement that works for all. How children settle into this new routine. You may be upgrading your Wi-Fi, setting up different areas for the children, mom and dad to sit. Again, like Dan Tuta said, it involves conversation. I had a family conversation and we had to come to an agreement. These are not normal times. We all need to adapt to ensure everyone stays happy. My son, as you know, boy, is a 16-year-old boy. He wanted to go out. And I said, you know what? You've got asthma. I know you're young. You just must relax that restlessness. You know, the cabin fever, after being stuck at home for so long, he adjusted. It was a new experience for the entire family. For friends, a lot, called and I gave advices. And I said to them, you know what? You could ask your bosses, could we do a shift period so that somebody is supervising the children at home in the morning while you can start work at 2? Dad could also do the same thing because this new normal calls for shared responsibility. Like I said earlier on, communication is key. And in communicating, because some of us talk, but we're not communicating. There are 3 components to communication. You speak, there's a listening period, listening time, and a reaction. If any of those are missing, you have not communicated, and this is vital. Without communication, then there is chaos. You need to get by an understanding of all that what makes you resilient. There are fears that after lockdowns and COVID, with homeschooling round the clock, childcare, decades of women advancement and gender equality could be undone. If we are ready and willing to redefine our partnership at home, we will weather this storm. Now is also the time to nurture your strong friendships, sisterhoods, networks, and circles of trust to share progressive tips and information with like minds. Around the world, COVID-19 has brought couples to renegotiate roles and responsibilities. Women, it's time to pay attention to the training and upbringing of our children. Like we all know, especially our boys. I raise my children equally. It isn't about boys doing the heavy lifting and the girls learning to be domesticated. Boys too should be independent in that regard, and girls shouldn't just be seen as a wife material. No more cuddling the male children and heaping the endless responsibilities on our girls. More than ever, we need women who are leading innovatively on the home front, grooming the next generation of leaders in partnership with their spouses. Now we go on to the women entrepreneurs and the career women in corporate organizations. This is a good time to be creative, to be innovative and agile, and adapt by bringing positive values and vibes to the table. Any business or corporate organization that is not doing this or have people driving this post-COVID is bound to fail. Women must be ready for business unusual to cope with the disruption that has affected all businesses and careers. Some of us have lost our jobs. Some are on half salaries. People don't know what next because organizations weren't prepared and all have to take hard decisions, including letting some of us go. If your business isn't scalable or you haven't leveraged technology, then you're on the road to collapse. Primark in London, as you all know, didn't have an online presence. They've lost over 600 billion pounds. When you compare that to Amazon, who easily transitioned their business online, leveraging on inbuilt technology into their processes and businesses, doubled or quadrupled in profits. In my organization where I work, Deutsche Bank, we already had a system whereby people could work from home. So it was easy transition. We all went into split operations. More flexibility was introduced, allowing us to work 2-3 days a week. Women and mothers were given particular flexibility to ensure a balance. I'm close to retirement. I know you may not believe it, but I've taken a couple of developmental refresher courses during this 4-month lockdown because I just must have transferable skills. As a lawyer, which I sometimes forget because I've worked in banking for well over 32 years, a friend and I signed up for the Introduction to the Arbitration and Mediation course, which I am now a proud member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitration in the UK, as well as in Nigeria. I focused on it for a month. I worked hard. I was like going back to university, and I achieved, proudly so. I also enrolled after that in one of my mentees, my mentees masterclass to learn digital marketing, and went on to week 2 to learn enhanced digital learning. Women who are on board should be looking at how technology can sustain business. We must have foresight and have everyone trained to be adaptable. I have personally embraced technology in an aggressive manner during the lockdown and plan to learn a lot more so I add value to my person. I strongly recommend you implement that creative idea or suggest innovative ways your organization can thrive and scale during this period. Women, again, must be ready for business unusual to cope with this economic stress. We are the backbone of MSMEs and the cornerstone of local communities. Through peer reviews and sharing information, we can tap into the natural problem-solving instinct already at play before COVID and learn from each other. Again, communication is key. Adaptability. The pandemic took all nations in the world by surprise. Those who come out on top after the pandemic are those who are able to quickly their business model and strategy and act fast on the opportunities that have opened up. Embracing new methods of dealing with clients and customers will be necessary going forward. For retail businesses, beauty, catering businesses, for example, you've got to abide to strict appointments from your clients, new ways of physically spacing individuals, logistics and delivery reform with restructure and revolutionize ways of doing business. Upskilling. It is necessary to learn, relearn, and unlearn. New skills are required to thrive in the new normal that we are experiencing. Brush up and hone what you already know, hone your skills, and become a thought leader in your area of expertise. Embrace digitization and social media to increase your reach. Make sure your Instagram and LinkedIn are up to date and set up to attract quality and valuable people to your page. You want to showcase the value you bring to the table. The world is your marketplace. I am building my presence on social media now. What you present to the world is very important. So is your knowledge of applications of Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams. Different organizations will use any of these channels to communicate. You want to run a business, they'll say, oh, God, can you use Google Meet? You're not going to tell them you don't know how to, because I know how we women are when it comes to technology. So aggressive embracement of that is very important. I also stress the importance of reverse mentoring, at least for me. During lockdown, I just shared with you that I attended a course organized by my mentee. Her name, Mercy George Igbafe. She's the founder, CEO of her digital company called Lentor on digital marketing. Honestly, by the time I finished with Lentor's marketing classes, I knew I was not the same. I urge you all to visit her page, Lentor, and see the value and how she's making a huge impact in that space. Having younger, smart women as friends, mentees, and also on boards will enable new ideas. If we adapt and adopt these ideas, we will truly rise. We must see the next normal as a springboard for new ways of juggling work and our home life, from soft skills and personal initiative trainings to thinking about developing resilient value chains. Now is not the time for complacency at all. We must also think about sustainability, cheaper, environmentally friendly solutions for business. Again, if we're doing any of this, then we are rising. Politics. Recent research by the Universities of Dublin and Pretoria found that countries led by women have 6 times less COVID deaths than countries led by men, prompting experts to re-examine female leadership. Women are generally, it is said, more open to collaboration, display more empathy and innovation, according to Renee Adams from the University of Oxford. They are also less likely to play politics during a crisis or let their ego get in the way, according to similar research done by the Harvard Business School. This is the time for African women, all of us as women, to get informed and get involved in policy making and nation building. No longer can we afford to continue to push forward the narrative that politics is a dirty game and stay away. It is no longer an excuse. We need women at the table when the crucial policies and decisions in government are being made. Everyone who knows me, Adiola Aziz, knows I am very interested in politics. I call myself a corporate politician. I have worked in the corporate world for almost all my life, but I'm interested and involved in the world of politics. I've supported women in politics. In the last election, I supported Obi Ezekwesili when she ran for president. There are many women political organizations I belong to. I spearheaded the women in politics under WIMBIZ, which we call ourselves WIMPO, under the umbrella. I do a lot of advocacy to ensure women are encouraged to come out and engage in different ways, from contesting to supporting campaigns. There are less than 6% of women in parliament in Nigeria. We have one of the lowest of female representation in parliament across Africa. Globally, we rank 181 out of 193 countries according to the International Parliamentary Union. These are dismal numbers. There must be a resolve from women to be active participants in politics. Who better than women to fight for women's rights? Who better than women to understand the urgency of tackling discriminatory laws and social practices? Who more than women in politics? We will get a different perspective on women's rights and education. For the Nigerian women and African women, this is the best time to prepare for the Nigerian women and get equipped for the next election. join the right webinars, the platforms, and gain knowledge of how to, go around the political landscape. The women in politics of WIMBIZ are doing a lot of work in that space while collaborating with others so we have more impact. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "A woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong it is until it is in hot water." Well, the water is boiling hot now, ladies. It's time to show the world what we are made of. I also like to take this time to remind us about the importance of our health and fitness. My other colleague just spoke about that. And then we will continue to rise. There is an obvious proven link between good health and exercise. We shouldn't allow room for obesity or lethargy. Digital fitness is also booming during COVID-19. I do my yoga via Zoom, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. It is working digitally. Sign up for an online workout group with friends and explore home fitness options. In concluding, resilience and adaptability are two key personal objectives to pursue at this time. Restructuring your day is vital to deal with the pressure. We mustn't forget to reserve moments for ourselves. The multiple roles and responsibilities we have as mothers, sisters, wives, and in addition to our professional and vocational pursuits as entrepreneurs, public sector servants, our service in the political space, our mental, physical, spiritual, emotional health must not suffer. Coming out of this pandemic with new attitudes, new conversations is vital for our future success. Women still we rise, reshaping our future, the female frontier redefined. Women still we rise again and again. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Another empowering and inspiring speech. I'm hoping that everybody can still hear me. A few things that I've taken from this, from what Mrs. Aziz has just said. Be ready for business unusual. Very important. It's important also to hone your skills, to retrain, actually even look at your mentees, see what you have poured into them and get back. Mrs. Aziz spoke about how she's actually gone on a course that one of her mentees put together and how much she has taken from it. And also, she addressed the issue of being aware of your online presence and actually being upskilled on all things online, because as we know with COVID, everything now is online. You need to have an online presence, and the excuse before of, oh, it's for the younger generation or it's for this type of person, is COVID has shown us that everybody needs to be online, needs to be online savvy, needs to be online aware. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So the time is fast spent. They do say that time flies when you're having fun. And I'd like to call on our final panelist for this webinar. As I said, we still have questions that are raised in the Q&A section, so we will have a short time after our last speaker to actually address those questions. Our last speaker is Nimi Akinkugbe. She is the founder of Best Man Games and has recently been appointed an ambassador of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Her speech is titled Musings About Women, COVID and Money. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are the slides ready, Sam? I had some slides. Are they going to put them up, please? Anyway, in the meantime, just want to thank Sam and Tola for inviting me for this amazing event and for our speakers for inspiring us in this way. I enjoyed all your speeches. Pamela, Adiola and Denta. Just great, great comments. I'll just keep going because we don't have much time. Okay, fantastic. Right, I'm just going to be talking about my thoughts about COVID, about women, and about money. We've all heard about the Black Swan event. By all accounts, this is a Black Swan event. Unpredictable, unprecedented, extremely rare. We all hope we never, ever experience anything like this ever again. Severe impact on all our lives, so much change. So what has this time meant for you? I remember in January, start of a new decade, I just set out thinking of all these incredible things I was going to do. I was full of anticipation, business plans, booked travel plans, graduation ceremonies. There was just so much to think about. And then suddenly, drastic change, lockdown. As Adiola said, panic stations, separation from loved ones. How do you get your kids home? My son was in New York. We couldn't get him home on time. So I was glued to the New York governor's speeches every single day for 100 and something days, just checking how New York was. Fear, anxiety, uncertainty. You know, you feel you've lost control, especially with women when we're so organized and putting things in place, and suddenly everything's out of control. But what I found about COVID was something truly powerful. I think our lives were completely out of control. I think we were not living the lives of our dreams. We were jumping from pillar to post. Are you looking at your wardrobes now with your 150,000 clothes, shoes, bags, and what have you been wearing? Have you not been wearing the same 5 dresses for the last 5 months? Tell the truth. But we were just acquiring all these things. And suddenly you had to face yourself in the lockdown, your reality when you were powerless. This was not about money couldn't save you. You couldn't fly anywhere if you got sick. It was literally about prayer, realizing your mortality, stillness, reflection, family, friends, loved ones, relationships. One of the most incredible things I've found is families were not spending time together, but in the lockdown, they were forced to spend time together. People were beginning to understand their children better. I just found that truly amazing. But have you seized the opportunities? Are you sitting on the sidelines waiting for a vaccine? Don't wait for a vaccine. Let the pharmaceutical companies get the vaccine. How prepared are you for your opportunity? Your talents and skills. I love what Adiola said about honing her skills. If you had some weaknesses, I attended my first webinar in my life during COVID, during the lockdown. I had to host one and I didn't even know how to go about it. Again, I had to call one of my 20-something-year-old friends to put me through, hold my hand. There's no ego in this. When you're at our age, in your 50s and 60s, you become a dinosaur so fast if you don't embrace technology. There are opportunities in your businesses, financial markets. The stock market has come down. Are you buying shares now? Are you waiting for them to go back up? Are you buying property? Or were you so unprepared that you had no savings at all to take advantage of any opportunity that comes at all? Have you thought about partnerships? Are you trying to do everything on your own? What did you set out to do this year? And what did you achieve in the lockdown? Don't tell me that you are exactly the same as you were before the lockdown as when we come out of this situation. You should have grown. It's not too late. You should be reading. What are you doing to change your life, to change yourself? Don't keep thinking about what you didn't achieve. Start thinking about what you are going to achieve. We still have 5 months left of the year, 4.5 months. So you can still do some things, but look at those goals. Some of those goals no longer make any sense. So cast them aside. Which are the few things, pick 1 or 2 that you will actually absolutely achieve before the end of 2020. Let's talk about investing now. Investing in yourself, in your dreams, investing your money, investing in your talents, and investing in great relationships. You are your greatest asset. To invest in yourself is the greatest thing you can do for yourself. Your unique gifts and talents Adiola spoke about, can you cook? Can you write? What can you do? Have you identified your talents? Have you recognized them? Are you investing in them? Are you nurturing them? It's just so, so important to ensure that you find out what these things are, and not just for yourself, but for your children as well. You know, just as what Dente was saying about the boy child and the girl child, it is in these early years that you are able to find out those things that your children are good at. Go all out, because when a child grows up having support from parents and able to you know, use their talent and grow with their talent, it doesn't feel like work, they just excel. It's just so important that you find that talent. It's time to do a SWOT analysis on yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Have you accepted that things have changed? Are you prepared for the new normal or the next normal? Where are you now? Reflect on you. Who are you? What drives you? Are your skill sets where they actually ought to be? Have you imbibed working from home? Are you having all your meetings online? These are critical skills that you need to know. And if your children are online and you haven't got a clue how they're going about their online education, then it's a real problem for both you and your children. The company that you keep, critical. Who are your friends? You know, they say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Networking is one of the most critical success factors in anything you're doing. Collaboration is key. I found that I just was not the person that could take my business to the next level. You know, in Nigeria and maybe in other parts of Africa, we tend to want to own a business totally. That was a big mistake I made. 100%, you want to own 100%. Eventually you might own 100% of nothing if you don't collaborate. So now I'm looking for people who are interested in what we're doing, who can invest, and I don't have to own everything. They have greater strengths that I have. I can then focus on where my strengths are and use others to collaborate. Do you have a mentor? Again, earlier speakers mentioned the importance of a mentor. You're never too old to have a mentor. Get yourself a mentor, latch onto them. Sometimes I have mentors that don't even know them, that I look up to them as my role models. I'm just watching and learning and observing them from a distance. Keep a list of positive influencers in your life and regularly connect. I don't mean WhatsApp. The days of just communicating on WhatsApp are over. We need to pick up the phone again and call people. I make at least 3 important calls every single day. It's not to ask for anything. It's to say hi and stay in touch and learn and give. Have a target number of calls and make those calls. They are critical. Because if you keep calling people only when you need something, it's very unsavory and it puts people off as well. Because you've got to be giving. Mentoring is about giving and receiving. So it's important that you do it both ways. Still on investing for yourself, investing in yourself. Health is wealth. We've talked about that a lot, so I won't spend much time. But don't spend, too many people expend their health to gain wealth, only to spend their later years spending all their money trying to regain their health. Don't be one of those. Prioritize your medical checkups. That was said by earlier speakers as well. When last did you have your checkup? When last did you have health insurance updated? Have you rolled over your health insurance, or you don't even have health insurance? COVID-19 is so real. I went to Ibadan last week, I was in Lagos this week, and people are being complacent. It is real, it is so real. Don't get complacent. When they say wash our hands frequently, use a sanitizer, social distancing, it's true. Don't let this be what derails you completely. The choices that we make today regarding our wellness can have a significant impact on our future health. Please don't forget your mental health as well, because the stress of this time has really got some people broken. This is the time to really, really connect with your close friends, your family, your pastor, and so on, and just make sure your mental situation is there as well. Now, I can't close without rushing through some financial tips, so I'll just run through those quickly before I close. Your income and expenses. When last did you check your financial situation? Many people's situation is quite dire now. We need to go back to the old-fashioned, good old budgeting. Track your expenses and find out where your money is actually going. The saddest thing for most people at this time is they didn't have an emergency fund. That fund we always talk about as financial experts is for times like COVID-19, where you might lose your job, take a salary cut, and there's nothing in the horizon. If you had 6 to 12 months of savings set aside, at least it's a fallback to tide you over until something can happen. Your debt, don't ignore your debt. If you are one of those in debt today, don't despair, but don't hide behind the cupboard when you see your lender coming down the corridor. You need to face up to your debt. Try to pay off the highest interest debt first. Debt is a great tool to build wealth, but don't abuse debt. Debt can be catastrophic if you're using it for holidays, using it for jewelry, using it for things that don't appreciate and value. Use your debt to educate yourself. You can borrow to buy property. Borrow for things that will improve your life, but don't run away from debt. Have you got a diversified portfolio? Do you have cash in the bank? Do you have stocks? Do you have mutual funds? Do you have real estate? Do you have business interests? Do you have foreign exchange? If you don't, you do need to get started. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. You can't have all your money in stock or all your money in property, but you do need to build a portfolio. And I hope there are some young people in the audience, because from your 20s, you should be well on your way to investing. But even if you're in your 50s or 60s and there's no money in the bank, you still, God willing, have 30 years of life to go. You need to get started now. Develop your knowledge. Even though you have a financial advisor, don't depend totally on that. It's important as well for you to also seek knowledge and learn about investing yourself. Now let's talk quickly about the family finances. A lot of young women in Africa are under shocking pressure to be married as soon as they finish university. Be very careful to not get landed with the wrong, unsuitable suitor. We're having a staggering divorce rate right now, which was very, very foreign to us. This is because women are marrying the wrong people, men are marrying the wrong people. It is not a taboo to be single until you find the right partner. But even when you're dating, don't forget to talk about money. Money is the single most serious problem about causing divorce. So do ensure that you do talk about money and plan for your financial lives together. I think I'm running out of time, so I've got to rush through. Retirement, we've got to remember that we spend a third of our lives in retirement. So how are you going to afford your retirement life? Where's the money going to come from? It's going to come from interest, rental income, dividends, your fantastic skills. This is the time to hone your skills, your talents, your hobbies. I love what Adiola said about getting a new certification in arbitration. That's a whole new world. We've all got to think of what we're going to do during that time when we don't want to work every day. Something that you love to do. This is how we want to be, like this lady. Warren Buffett says that if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you work until you die. It is that passive income that comes into your account every month, even when you aren't going to work every day. And finally, in terms of not being pessimistic, let's not forget that we will all have to face death. But don't leave mayhem for your family when you're no longer there. Have you got a will? If you have children, you're obliged to have a will. Do you have a trust? Do you have joint accounts? Do you have life insurance? Just put something in place that makes it possible for your family to thrive even when you're not there. I was a banker for 25 years, and many, many African men, both here and in Nigeria and other countries, do not put their wives as next of kin. This is a very serious predicament for many, many women. It's something that we need to address and start with our own husbands and make sure we're talking about estate planning. It is through philanthropy. This is how we rise. It is through philanthropy that we attain the best relationship with our money. Generosity enriches our lives far more than any material possessions. There will always be someone worse off than you. What can you do to help others? Are there causes you identify with and wish to support? Are you establishing a legacy? What can you do to help? It's not all about money. Giving is not just about money. It's about your time. It's about your talent. It's about your treasure. So see what you can do at this time to support others. And finally, money is not the most important factor in life. It's not measured in naira, sterling. Life is not measured in naira, sterling, dollars, or the rand. Money does not buy happiness and fulfillment. Of course, it buys you some great handbags and shoes, but long-term fulfillment and happiness comes from loving relationships with your family, your spouse, your children, your friends, and your relationship with God. Thank you so much for listening to me. Don't forget to leave us today with just good intentions. You know, you come to these summits and then you go away, you're empowered and you think, oh, I'll do this, and then you just forget about it. I hope Women for Africa won't have done this for us in vain. Let's all be resolved to make a change in our lives. And let's do something now so that we can follow through. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nimi. I was just going to say that actually, that there's so much that we've actually taken, that I personally have taken from this webinar this evening. And I know that although I've taken some notes, there's a lot of stuff that I would have missed. And so the great thing about this is that this webinar is going to be available on Facebook. It's also available on Women for Africa YouTube channel. So please revisit and re-listen, take more notes, because there's lots of stuff that you would have missed and that you need to action. Some of the notes that I took while listening to Nimi were the importance of seizing opportunities. I mean, COVID has presented us with many opportunities, and we need to make sure that we seize them and prepare to seize future opportunities as well. Keep in touch with people, and not just via WhatsApp by sending and forwarding messages, but actually taking the time to actually pick up the phone and make a call, not because you need something, but just to touch base and actually have that contact as well. Prioritize medical checkups, because I think everybody, all of our panelists have said the same thing, but in particular also our financial checkups, how important it is for us to be financially savvy, aware, the importance of wills, the importance of investments, the importance of understanding debt, good debt, bad debt. So much stuff, so many nuggets there. Thank you so much, Nimi, for that. Okay, so as I said earlier, time flies when you're having lots of fun. Thank you so much for joining us on this webinar. We have a few questions that have been raised in the Q&A section, and I'm going to call on Sam to just go through some of them and ask some of our panelists to maybe address some of the questions that have been raised. So over to you, Sam.
Okay, wow, it's been.
Or would you want me to call it? Do you want?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ayo.
Okay, so let's take the first question. The first question here is PhD syndrome. So I think I'm going to address this to Pumela. How do we eradicate this? I know we don't have a lot of time, so if we can just keep our responses short. So PhD syndrome, how do we eradicate this? Pumela, can you?
The simplest answer would be don't be jealous of others. But the long-winded answer would be lift others as you rise. So look at where you are, create opportunities, create spaces for others to participate, and pay it forward to the future generation. So, so create opportunities where you are with what you have.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I'm going to address the next question to Nimi. For Africans in, actually, sorry, let me just to Mrs. Aziz. For Africans born in the diaspora, what can be done to help to feel more connected? Bear with me. What can be done to help to feel more connected to their true home? Many feel they have no say or right to give an opinion as they live and were raised in the diaspora. How can people connect?
I think the first thing is to realize that there are people you can reach out. Okay? Like, for instance, they can reach out to organizations. I mean, we talk about social media today. The social media is our marketplace for connection, right? So, I mean, I can talk about connection without referring to WIMBIZ. You know, if you want to feel connected as a woman, how to do it, how to reach out, you know, go onto our website, www.wimbiz.org, right? So being in the diaspora is not an excuse for you not to be connected to home. It is not an excuse. The channels are there, and there's so many budding organizations at the moment, all depending on your, what do they call it, your age bracket, right, that you can relate to. So it always depends on what you really want to connect about. Once you identify what you want to connect about, then, you know, you seek it out, and it's out there. You know, I'm a great networker. I love to network. I network every single day from high to the bottom. So, you know, it is easy. If you're willing to do it, the connection is not a problem. It's not a problem if you really want to connect.
Ayo, can I just add on that, please?
Thank you very much.
Can I add to that?
Of course.
I think it's really important for us in the not to go in the thinking that we know it all. It's a put off for those who live in Africa. I think many a times when, you know, we're looking to move back home or looking to do business, we feel like, you know, we've gained a lot of knowledge and we come there with so much vibe and so much energy, and we don't take into consideration the people on the ground, the people that have been living there for many years. We can both learn from each other. It's not just about us, you know, coming with, you know, we think that we know it all. So I think it's really, really important. And also for us in the diaspora to make sure that we're teaching our kids our language, wearing them the African tradition, teaching them, you know, how to even greet our elders. You know, all of that comes into play when it comes to, you know, wanting to be part of the African narrative. We need to make sure that we also come correct and not be so forceful in our ideas, but bridge a gap for them to understand us and for us to understand them.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Densa, for that. The next question I have here is a bit of a long one, but I'm just going to see if I can get to the crux of it. And it's basically talking about single mothers and the sort of support that is available to them. I'll just take the last part of the question, which is, or the last part of the comment, which is, as sad as it sounds, single parent households is the new norm that is proliferating at a speed of light. Is there any way Women4Africa, or I suppose anybody on the panel, can throw ideas around initiatives rendering support to single parents, single mothers? Does anybody on the panel want to address that? And I think this stems from the comment started off with, because there was a lot of talk about women with husbands and with families, and so this comment is coming from the point of view of somebody who's single, or not just single, but is a single parent.
I can have a shot at.
Okay.
I'll just, I mean, I'm talking from a Nigerian perspective. There truly is not a whole lot of support, and you cannot really rely on the extended family. It is critical for women to be financially independent. So you literally have to take the bull by the horn and ensure that you have the medical insurance, you have the health insurance, you have life insurance as a single mom. So it's about building up your own capacity and honing your own skills. I'm sorry, I can't say there's an organization that actually helps single women. There probably are some, but it really boils down to you. And then other speakers spoke about support systems. I just love what women do for each other. So I find that, you know, where WIMBIZ does so much in terms of not having this problem of women pulling each other down, but rather women supporting women. This is where those support systems really, really kick in. But single women, the burden of your finances comes on you totally. So you have to really hone in on that. Financial security is a major thing in terms of peace of mind, educating your children. I'm not sure about other African countries, but in Nigeria, things like alimony and so on aren't even enforced. So you could actually find you've lost your home, you've lost your property, and so on. So you do need to build that capacity on your own. I hope someone can tell us that there is some support system out there. Is there anything in the UK or in South Africa?
Okay, do you know, I'm going to softly tread on that because I read that comment about 4 times. I read it and I put it down, and it actually made me feel quite sad because I had a lot of empathy for the person that wrote that there, and I really thought of it. And I don't know of an organization that is there to support women, but I do know that if you listen to some of the things that have been said here, you know, when you say single mother, you're really saying that there's this lady that is doing her job and doing the job of the father. She's got 2 loads of responsibility and she's only got 1 time lot. So she's got her 24 hours, but she's meant to do 48 hours of work in it. How's she going to do it? So there's some things that are simple tools. The tools might be hard to apply, but it's things like prioritizing. I'll try to make it very simple, because if you found that for no reason or fault of yours, you are in that situation, what I'm trying to communicate is that your mindset, you're going to have to just prioritize things that bring about a superior cash flow so that your family, your children don't feel belittled or inferior to anybody else's family, because that's a terrible feeling. And you also have to put more effort into those friendship networks. You see the ladies here, these are the type of people, well, hopefully, because let me be very, very transparent. Every single person that I've met on this panel here, I have pushed my way towards them. Nothing was given to me. Nobody dropped Women4Africa on our laps and said, hey, here you go. So I want to try and empathize. So every time I took Women4Africa somewhere, I was met with suspicion. The question is, why is it a man do it? He wants to take advantage of us. That was it. So somehow I can actually empathize with a woman that has to do a man's job. It's like being a fish out of water. But the truth is that you just have to go the extra mile. You have to go the extra mile. Women4Africa, we're used to doing things in a hall physically. It's been destabilized. What do? Do we sit down and cry? No, we have to go virtual. So my encouragement is that I can imagine how hard it's going to be, but that extra mile comes from within you. And the fact that you've taken out time to actually come onto this place and to ask these questions tells me clearly that you are someone that wants to connect. So I think that the very least that I can do is that if you send an email to me and you're in this country, I'm going to make sure that I will give you one of my courses, one of my financial courses. I'll give you one for free. Right? So that lady, you contact me. I have some courses that cost a lot. I'm going to give you one for free to help to elevate the pressure that might be on you financially. So that's my gift to you. And then secondly, I will try and arrange some connections with some really good women that I know here. I'm going to volunteer Pumela as one, because she's here, and then I'll volunteer Denta. I can connect you with some people that will probably help you or will support you. So that's the give back that you can do practically.
I would actually like to say something.
Of course, go ahead, please.
Okay. So I think in addition to what is by the panelists in terms of the single woman who is working, I also wanted to just raise another angle, which is that your greatest need can be meaningful. So if you find single women support groups that are not really addressing your need, nothing wrong starting one and then making sure that you get the support that is in line with the problems or the issues or the challenges that are faced by the particular group of single women. So it was just to encourage you that if you don't find it, and if you don't find the help anywhere else, that is your ministry.
Absolutely. And I know single women that, that have 6 children and have worked so hard to raise their 6 children. She's a lawyer. She's an amazing force. Let's also look at people that are in similar situations to you and what they've been able to achieve. I think it's really important. There are people's, how much do you want it? How much do you want to sacrifice? How persistent are you? How much are you willing to be knocking on those doors? I just literally just checked on Facebook. There's lots of single mother support groups on Facebook for Black women, for mixed, whatever. I just did a quick search. Everything now is online, literally. There is no excuse for anybody anymore to say that they can't find information. Everything is online. There's no more excuses for us women that we can't do whatever, because you can get information online. So I would encourage you to go on Facebook, to, you know, even if you put hashtags now on Instagram or whatever, you can find people in your situation and then start communicating with them. I remember doing a topic on fibroids for women. All I did was type in fibroids on Instagram, and I found the women, my speakers, right there and then. You know, I DM'd them and they responded. You know, so you need to be knocking on the door. For me, to be honest with you, being single, a mother, is not an excuse. It's how much you want it, how much you want to go for that. How persistent are you? How confident are you to be able to move?
Thank you very much, Denta. And thank you to everybody who's put some information and some links in the chat as well, in relation to, specifically in relation to support for single women. Thank you. So we have come to the end of the webinar, but just to give the final address, can I just ask Sam if you've got a couple of words that you would like to share before we actually close the webinar?
Wow. I'm in awe. I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed all the speeches. I've been smiling. I've been, you know, and I think that I think my line of thought goes like this. It goes, everyone out there, please remember, Africa, people say Africa has 54 countries, but I keep on saying that no African divided us into 54. I am so much interested in unity. I spoke on a webinar a few weeks ago, and I gave an example of the power of the EU, and it's because of the collectivity. I also gave the example of the US. The US used to be independent states. It's one power block. The EU is a power block. Power comes when people come together. There will always be division and weakness and poverty when there's division. Critical thing is not so much about me empowering me or empowering my neighbor. The power is in the collective. So please remember to dismantle this thing between countries. And maybe I'm rare, but I don't really see that much. Well, for me, I celebrate women. I love my mom. I grew up with my mom. I grew up with my dad as well, but my mom was super hardworking. So it's very easy for me to see the best in women. I've got a lovely wife. And I've got all my sisters on the panel here. So I'm so much into the unity, and I believe that it's in that unity that the growth will come, not in taking loans from China or anywhere else. It's from working within and placing value on what we have. So my closing words are, there's so much value in the African woman. And if we can learn to support the African woman and the African family, there will be phenomenal growth. So with that said, I would just like to say a super thank you to everyone that's spoken here and everyone that's taken out time to invest, and the people on social media that are sharing this. I see your shares and we really appreciate it. So thank you so much, everyone, and all our panelists.
Thank you so much. And on that note, I'll say also thank you and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.